And we're live. So today we're going to talk about shapes. And let me just update this. It just still says ask me anything. That's okay. So we're going to talk about shapes, and feel free to bring your questions. If you join this and you have specific things you want to cover, happy to divert course and talk about what you want. But until I get questions, I'm going to go to new video project. And I'm going to call this shapes practice. And then I'll click into my project. And all of our shapes are here at the top. This is square with a circle icon. It says shape, appropriately named. Click on it. And there's 6 options: rectangle, ellipse, waveform, progress bar, line, and arrow. So if we apply any of these, they are exactly what they sound like. There's a rectangle. I clicked on it to add it. And one second here, I'm going to add my cursor. Okay. So it's got 4 corners. This is important to point out because every shape is different. A circle, for example, you can just make it bigger. Well, it also has 4 corners. You'll see in a second. But a line has just 2. So we can grab these and move 2 dimensions at once, the height and width at the same time. Or you can grab just the side and change just the width, or the top and change just the height. All of those work as well. And you can see when I put it in the middle, it snaps into place, those red lines there, those red perforated looking lines. But when I have that selected and I come over here to the properties bar on the right side, and one second, let me make this a little bit smaller, like so, because I think it's cut off right now. Okay, so I click on the shape, and then over here on the right side, there's layout. I click on that to expand it. And this shape exists at a certain x-axis and y-axis. So if you remember back to high school algebra, 0, 0 is in the bottom left, and then it goes all the way up to the top right will be your biggest numbers, your biggest X and your biggest Y. That is like your, how you position things along this, the planes here. And then you have under that width and height, and you can type in a number there. So I could say like 2,700, makes it a little bit wider, 2,900, 3,200, and so on. You can make it taller, make it like 500. I made it shorter. But notice it shrinks it proportionally. So to the right of the height and width is this little chain icon. And what that does is it's keeping the dimensions that I have set here. So if I change one of these, either the height or the width, it's going to change both of them together because this link is activated. If I unlink it, then they'll move separately. So now I can change the height, change it to 1100, and it made it taller without making it wider. So I can make it like 15,000, 1500 there. And I can move it around my screen like so. And I can, back to the corners, I can drag the corners to resize it. And when I do that, you can see that the layout numbers are changing with it. So that's the basics, is the layout, applying it in the first place. And then this bottom left one under the layouts is the angle of this shape. So right now it's at 0 degrees, meaning it's lying flat. The bottom part of that square is horizontal, or parallel, I should say, with the bottom of the canvas, the black portion here. And so that's a 0 degree angle. I could change it to 90 degrees, and it just flipped 90 degrees to the left. I could do 180. Now it's opposite of where it started. I could do 45, which would be a partial angle like that. Now the other way to do that is to put your mouse under one of the corners, and you see I have that curved arrow. It's like a curved arrow, like a U looking shape. I can click and I can slide this, and it's just spinning the shape in place. And all of these properties, by the way, don't just apply to shapes. These apply to anything. You can resize any layer, be it a video, be it a image, any layer you can resize and move it around with the layout properties here. And then our final box here, the sixth one in our layouts property, is currently set to 0. And this is going to be our corners. So how much we round the corners. Right now, they're not rounded at all. They're a 0. They're perfectly sharp, 90-degree corners. But I could type in a 20. And now they're slightly rounded. Let me make that more dramatic. Let's do like a 50. And now you can see that they're rounded. And this goes all the way up to, I believe, 500. You can see that's like an oval. Yeah, oh, no, it does keep going. I think it depends on the size of the shape. 750. So beyond 750, it looks like it doesn't really change. But let's do like 200. Yeah, 200, that's fine. That looks like a nice round box. And then you can make it shorter so that it looks kind of like an oval. And this could be a nice little name tag if you put some text over that. And let's change the text color. Let's do like a red. Let's do black, actually. And come down to black. Click out of there. And say name dash title. And then I'm going to click on it again. Make it longer so that it fills up that whole thing. I'll left align it. And then, yeah, so that thing that started as a rectangle turns into this nice oval that we can use as a background for another layer. And one thing we can do, so if I click out into this gray area, I have nothing selected. I can see all of my layers here, which in this case is the title layer and the rectangle. And I can lock that rectangle. See this little padlock icon right here? I can lock that layer, and now I can't move it. If I'm trying to click on it, I can't select it. So it's kind of like fixed in place, which can be advantageous in this particular case. If I'm I can still move the title layer, or I could move, if I had a bunch of shapes, which I'll get to as we go here, as we go through today's live stream. But yeah, just to show you that you can lock it. And then if I do want to be able to manipulate it again, I can unlock it. And now I can select it. And I can change the layout properties. I can change the color, anything I want as before. So let me go ahead and lock that again. And let me apply a background just so we can kind of get a little bit better visuals on what we have here. And by the way, let me show my timeline. When you apply a title to a blank project, as I did, it's 5 seconds long, 5.0 seconds long. I can extend that infinitely. They're infinitely extendable. So I could just grab the corner of the clip and slide it to the right to make it longer, or slide it to the left to make it shorter. But by default, it's going to fill the scene that you put it in. But if there is no scene, it's a brand new project, it's going to be 5 seconds. Okay. So let me put in a background here. And let's find something nice. That waterfall looks cool. Let me type in waterfall. And these all look really nice. Let's do that. And it applied it as a layer. So let me put this in the script. I'm going to say include in script. I'm going to move my rectangle on top of it. Just click and drag everything to the beginning. And there it is. And I need to do one more step, which is right now it's hidden. My layer is behind there. I don't know if you can see that faint blue dotted line, but my rectangle is in fact there and selected. I just can't see it because the waterfall layer is in front of it. So I can move it to the front by clicking closed bracket, and I move the title there. And now we have a nice little scene. Let me see if I can extend this. So I'm going to extend this as far as it'll go, which is only that far. And then I'm going to extend the rectangle, and I'm going to extend the title. And there we go. Cool. So that is done. I'm going to click back on my rectangle, and let me delete the title for now. I'm just going to get rid of that. And actually, I forgot I have it locked, so I can't select my rectangle right now. So what I need to do is select nothing by clicking into the gray area, or hit done, click into the gray area, and there's my rectangle. There it is locked. So I'm gonna unlock it. Now I can select it again. And another thing you can change is the opacity. So right now it's 100% opaque. I'm gonna make that like 45%. Now it's like half visible, half not. It's kind of a cool look. And then the other thing you can do, I very rarely do this, but that top box right there that says rectangle, that is the title of this layer. So I could change that. I'm gonna call it oval since it's more of an oval now. And I'll just say oval opacity 45%. So if that was important, if you had a bunch of layers and you're going off of what it says here on the timeline, because we're gonna add a bunch of shapes as we go, this could be useful for keeping things organized and just kind of keeping track of where things are. So we got our opacity set, we got our layout set, we've messed around with fill color. The next thing we can do is add a border to our shape. So by default, it's 1 pixel thick. There's that 1 there. And I can make it a 10. And you can see it now has a nice border around it. If I make it bigger, there it is. Let me shrink it down again. And I could change the color of that by bringing up this fill color. So I can make it red, white, whatever I want to do here. Below that is the opacity, all the way from 0 up to 100. And you can do a lot of different things with that. I'll make it green. It kind of blends in with the water and the greenery around it. You can get rid of it with this minus sign. Below that are effects. So you can add a shadow to it, which is kind of a cool look. I often use shadows. Helps it pop a bit, as you can see. You can change the X and Y coordinates of that shadow and the blur level of it. So a bigger number here is going to be more intense. So 25 versus a 5. So 15, let's do that. And you can change the color. So right now it's a 100% opaque and black, but I could make it a different color if I wanted. Let's kind of match the color of the shape. So let's do a white. And then you can animate it. This is the last thing to show you here. So click on the layer, plus animation, custom, and I won't go too deep into the animations because I've done that a lot here before, but the starting keyframe, we're gonna have it pop out of the bottom. So let me move it out of the canvas. And then the distance between these keyframes is how long this animation is going to last. So right now it's about 1 second. If I go to the start, there it is, it pops up. And if I click on the animation again by either clicking on these keyframes or clicking on the layer itself and then going to this animation, clicking on these dials, these are your animation settings. And right now it's set to ease in and out. So this has to do with the speed, the pattern of that animation. And ease in and out means it's going to start slow, speed up in the middle of the animation, and then end the animation slow again. Ease in means it's going to start slow and pick up speed throughout the duration of the animation. Ease out, start fast, and then get slower throughout the duration of the animation. And then linear is where it stays at a consistent pace throughout the animation. So let's see how linear looks. Not bad. I think I like, probably ease out will probably work well here. Let's see how that looks. That's kind of cool. Starts fast and then it eases into place. I like it. So once I'm done with that, I can lock it as I showed you before with that padlock. Under layers, I just lock that shape and now I can no longer select it and I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about accidentally selecting it and moving it around. It's effectively locked to the background. And I could do the same thing with the script. Let me just lock that in place because I don't plan to move that around. It's not going to zoom in or anything like that. Okay, so that's that's the rectangle. Went pretty deep on all the different things that we can do with that. The next thing is the ellipse, and this is basically the same in the sense that you have 4 corners to resize it. You have your X and Y, your height and width, your rotation, which that's interesting actually. I never, oh, okay, you can rotate it. If it's not a perfect circle, then it makes sense. You could twist it like so. So yeah, you could, or you can grab the corners as we did before and swivel this thing around. It kind of looks like an egg right now. And then everything else we talked about before. I'm just gonna return that to 0. And you know, the chain link there so that I can adjust the height and width separately. Let's make this a perfect circle. I'm gonna do 1,000 and 1,000. Now it's a perfect circle. And I'm going to show you some cool things we can do with that in a moment. You can change the fill color. So once again, you can use the eyedropper down here, and you could match any pixel on the screen. You could, that looks kind of nice. It'll match the color of the water down there. And then you could change the opacity. So I'm going to make it just a little bit opaque like that, so it's not fully visible. Opacity is like such a cool thing to manipulate. It really makes things look better, I think. And then you could add a border to this. Let's add a white border so it stands out. And I'm gonna make it thicker. Let's do like a 15. And let me just shift this down a little bit so the border's not getting cut off. And then I can add some shadow to it. And that kind of interferes with the opacity. So I'm not gonna use that one this time. But what I'm gonna do now is go back to videos and let me find video of like a guy talking. And let's just pick this one. It doesn't matter. What I'm gonna do here, what I'm gonna simulate is creating like a webcam. Like let's say you have a recording. So I'm gonna take this video, click on this. These are more shapes right here, by the way. Click circle. That made him turn into a circle. This video turned into a circle. I'm gonna make it smaller. Like so. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna position him inside of the thing that I made. So he looks like this. And I'm gonna double click on there. Right now it's at 100% zoom. So this is the zoom within that circle that's showing. And I'm gonna type in like a 125. Type in like a 150, let's go all the way to 200. And then I'm gonna click in here and drag him to resize him. So it's just his head. And now this is kind of like a tutorial, like it's, I don't know what this is like, but you could use this for something. This could be your webcam. And let me just resize him a little bit because he's moving his head so he gets out of the frame. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do, if I'm happy with that, I'm gonna lock these layers in place so then I don't click on them and there's nothing to click anymore. And I'm gonna go back to my shapes. So we did rectangle, we did ellipse. The next one would be waveform and progress bar. I'm gonna come back to those because those are dynamic. They go off of the sound waves in your project, and I don't have any sound waves right now. After that would be line. So we can add a line, and I'm just gonna add this above my rectangle there. It's gonna be over the flat part until it starts curving. And notice what's different about this. There's a starting point and an end point. 2 points to manipulate. So our layout looks very different. There's just an X and Y, and that would be the X and Y of the starting point. And then below that, there's another X and Y, which would be the X and Y of the end point. So if I change these numbers, if I change the X here, you can see my line is getting shorter if I drag to the left and getting longer if I drag to the right, changing the x-axis, the endpoint of that line. Under that is the border. I can change the thickness. Right now it's a 5 pixel thick line. Let me change it to 20. And there it is. And it looks kind of like my oval that I created from the start right there. So this is another way. These are all different ways that you could arrive at the same thing. It just depends on what shape you prefer to work with. And then as before, you got your color wheel here. You can pick anything you want. You can match a color. Let's do the waterfall this time, that kind of gray. And I'm going to click on it again. You can add a shadow, help it pop and stand out from the background. You can, I haven't talked about this, but the chroma key, color adjustments, there's all these different types of things you can apply. The blur, look at that, kind of softens the border, the outer border, to add that blur effect. And film grain, some of these help more, like pixelate doesn't really make much sense right here. Let me show you what happens if I pixelate an image, or like the guy talking. So let me unlock him, unlock that layer. I'm gonna click on him, click effects, and pixelate. And it does that, it kind of like does that blur effect, or makes it look like it's super, super low resolution, like an old school computer video game. So that's pixelate, just what it sounds like. And you can change the intensity of it. There's a default, there's very pixelated, which can't even see what that is anymore. Moderately pixelated, or back to default, which is, you can also change the size of those pixels. So if I do 5, it's just like slightly pixelated, etc. I'm gonna remove that though. Toggle it off. It says there's an error changing the text. That's not text. There we go. I don't know what that was about. I don't have any text in my project, so that was a weird error. Okay, I'm gonna lock that layer again. I'm done with him. And with this line, I don't really have a good use for it. You know what? Let's do something creative. So we got these waterfalls coming down. Let me just take this line and try to create my own waterfall. So it's gonna be coming down the cliff. We have a new waterfall, and it's in front of the title layer. So let me just change that by changing the layer order here. And I'm using hotkeys, so shift and the bracket to move one layer forward at a time. And I'm positioning that just behind my oval, where I'm gonna add a title in a moment. So then with that applied, I'm gonna sort of pixelate it and try to make this look like a river. And let's see if we can pick a lighter pixel there. Okay, it doesn't look great, and I'm not gonna be able to do a whole lot better than that. I could mess with it and make it blurrier and kind of tweak it, but let's do a little blur as well. Okay, so that is adding a line. The last one, other than the dynamic ones, waveform and progress bar, is the arrow. And the arrow is similar to the line in that it has a start point and an end point. So this looks more familiar in that we have the X, we have one X and Y, and a second X and Y. So total of 4 properties. There's no rotate and there's no corner radius options with the arrow. We do have the border width, so we can make this arrow thicker. And you can see that when I make it thicker, I just moved it to 25, 35, 45, 65. The arrow head gets bigger, and so it moves back as well. It gets wider, it starts earlier, and then the line leading up to the arrowhead gets thicker. So all of that happens at once. It doesn't get longer. The only way to make it longer is to grab one of the corners and make it longer. Let me put one point here. I'm gonna grab the second point, and it's gonna be like pointing at this dude, like so. And we can change, so we change the radius, we can change the color with this thing right here, and I can make, this kind of looks like it could be a thumbnail for a YouTube video. Like this thing that's blurred out, you try to create a little bit of mystery, like, you won't believe what this river, you won't believe what I did on this river or something. That could be your thumbnail. That's kind of what this is starting to look like. So Oops, it reverted back. What the heck is that about? When I clicked on it, it flipped it. That was a weird little glitch. So when I select it again, as always, I can add a shadow to it. I can do a color adjustment. I could change the temperature of this, so I could like turn it blue. Maybe not blue, but make it like a dark maroon. Doesn't make much sense. I'm not going to do that right now. So we have all that set. Is there anything else I could show you? I guess we can animate it. Let's do an animation. So this will be, arrows are cool because we can change the layout, starting point and the end point. So let me move this, and I'm gonna click on the starting keyframe. I'm gonna have this thing out of the image, and it's gonna slide into view like so. Cool. This is kind of a nonsense project. Like, I can't think of any use cases where you would need to do all this, but at least it's showing you what you're capable of doing. So the next thing I'm going to do is use AI to generate a script, and then that way we'll have something to add for our waveforms, our audio forms. And the way I'm going to do that is go to Actions, Ask AI, and I can tell it write down here, this one that says write. I could say, well, it thinks there's already a script there. I'm gonna give it a fresh prompt. This is just ChatGPT, so I'm gonna say, please write me a script about a guy talking on the phone visiting a waterfall. I hit enter, AI is thinking, and it is generating that script. It's super short, but that's okay. We don't need much to go off of here. And there it is. It put it into my project, and nothing's gonna happen with this yet. You see it's blue, that means there's no audio with it. And if I look down on the timeline, there's no sound waves. It's just a empty text on the transcript. But if I add a speaker, once I assign it a speaker, it's going to convert that text into audio using an AI voice, either one that I've trained myself. Like here, I have one called Ross, and I have one called Ross 2.0. Those are voices that I've trained. Or I could go to Browse Stock Speakers, and I could choose one of these. So let's see what Dawn sounds like.
Life is like a camera. Just focus on what's important.
Yeah, that's good. That's appropriate. And now that it's assigned, you can see that it's pulsing, and that is processing. There's also that little spinning wheel telling us it's generating. That is turning this text into audio using that voice that you just heard of the guy named Don. And I could change that if I want. I could click on it, change it to myself, change it to Dr. Johnson, whatever. And now, if you look down on the timeline, you can see we have sound waves. And if I play this,
Guy, hey, I'm currently visiting a beautiful waterfall. Yeah, I can hear.
I don't know if you're able to hear that, but it's playing. It's his voice. And so there's one more step with using these AI speakers, and that is if right now there's this convert to audio thing, as well as there's that A in the top left corner. If my mouse isn't on it, there's an A right there with a little sound waves. That's telling me that this is sort of in draft mode. And when it's in that mode, before it's converted to audio, if I put my mouse on the boundary of the clip, I cannot change it. I can't make it shorter, I can't make it longer. It's in draft mode. So I hit convert to audio, and now I'm able to manipulate it just like I would any other normal speech. I'm gonna do the same thing to this one. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this, it's gonna not be in my script anymore. I'm just gonna move it up here above my script layer of that waterfall.
Guy, hey, I'm currently visiting a beautiful waterfall.
There we go. Except for that causes a problem because now we don't have our script. So in order for the sound waves and the progress bar to work, it needs to go off of the script. The sound waves do at least. The progress bar does not. So let me add back to shapes, and I'll go to progress bar. No, let's start with waveform. Sorry, I'm all over the place. So what I'm gonna do is I got this waveform. You can see it here. It's currently white, And let me just change these. I'm just gonna get rid of these other shapes so they're not in the way. I'm just clicking on the end of those boundaries and I'm sliding them all the way to the end of scene 1. Let me shorten scene 1 so it ends right when that guy does. There we go. So with these waveforms, these are replicating the waveforms down here in our script. It's creating, the peaks will happen at the same time as they do down below. The silent areas will have a lack of waves. Might not be a really good place to show. But it's just replicating what's down here. However, you can change it. So I can like make this bigger. It's just a layer, just like with the shapes that I previously showed you. And I can change how it looks. I can change where it's positioned. I can make it taller so that it fills the whole thing. And if I play
a beautiful waterfall. Yeah, I can hear the water flowing in the background.
It looks like that. And there's a silent point. This is a good example. So there's like barely any waves at all. But let's go back a little bit. Click on that layer again. And I have, as before, opacity. So I could make this like 50%. That looks kind of cool.
Hey, I'm currently visiting a beautiful waterfall.
And I could change the X, Y, height and width properties, the rotation of it. So I could put it on the wall there. I could, let me undo that. I can, it keeps bouncing around on me. I'm gonna do 60%, there we go. I can change it from lines to a circle. Here's what the circle looks like.
Yeah, I can hear the water flowing in the background.
And let me add captions to this as well, so you can see what those look like. So there's captions, and then I'm just gonna slide this over. And
I'm currently visiting a beautiful waterfall.
That's so stupid. Okay, circle and then ring.
Yeah, I can hear the water.
That one has like 2 layers. There's like an outer one and then an inner one. And then wave is just like a big ass thing.
Flowing in the background.
Like that. I think lines is cool. I like that the most. But then as before, this should all look very familiar now. Pretty similar across layers in terms of how you manipulate these layers is the fill. So you click on the white one and you can make this red. You could make it black where you can't even see it because it's on a black background. You could make it green. Let's do like a light blue. Looks kind of cool. You can change the size of it. That's the size of the waves, and you can see they get rounder as I bump that up to 60. 5 is pretty sharp. 2, 3. Fidelity is how many waves there are. So like right now my playhead is showing, I don't know what this number is, 500, but it's showing a snapshot of that moment in the speech. So let me do like a 15, and you can see they're super sparse. Those sound waves get super spread out. Let's do like 200, 300, that looks good. Magnitude, this is like the intensity of those sound waves. Let's do like an 8, so they're not, no, let's go even further, 5. I want them to be tall to where they go to like the almost out of the canvas, but not completely out of the canvas. So maybe like right there. And then mirror is to do this. It mirrors it on 2 sides. So rather than just having one side of sound waves, it kind of puts it in the center and then flips it around an x-axis like so. We got shadows, as always. Let me add another waterfall background. And then I'm gonna move that to the back. And let me add a background to this text. And feel free to drop your questions in. I see on different channels we have people lurking, so feel free to drop comments, or you can just watch me do stuff, up to you. Okay, so let's add a background to this. There you can see the text, and then
beautiful waterfall. Yeah, I can hear the water flowing in the background.
Cool. Like so. I'm going to make this fill that whole thing.
It's so peaceful here.
And let me bring those captions to the front. Okay, so that's the sound waves layer. I think we did just about everything there. You can animate it as before. You can add a shadow, anything else that you can do with the other shapes. Now the last one is a progress bar. And this is exactly what it sounds like. It is sort of like a loading bar of the scene that you're in. So right now I'm in scene 2. I can see that down here. I'm in scene 2. It's selected, it's dark gray. And this green or this blue bar right here that I'm running my mouse across, that is the progress bar layer. And so this layer is gonna last from about 17 seconds to 25 seconds. So it's about an 8-second layer. And if I scrub along there, watch what happens to that white bar on the bottom. It goes from 0 over here on the left until it's filled the screen all the way on the right, 100% done. And so if I click on that layer, and notice my playhead is like roughly in the middle, let me put it exactly in the middle, then you can see that the white bar is in the middle. So I don't think I need to explain that too much further, but you got your layout here, X and Y coordinates, you got your height and width, as well as always, you can drag the sides, you can drag the corners to resize that thing as you want. Now, here's where the white color comes in. This is the fill color. Should look very familiar by now after having done all these different shapes. I can do like a green. Let's do that. I can change the opacity right next to it. Let's make it like an 85%. And I can do, right now it's a bar style, so it's a bar sliding across the bottom of the screen, but I could change that. I could make it a ring. So it's gonna like,
I can hear the water flowing in the background. It's so peaceful here.
Instead of moving across the bottom of the screen, it's gonna fill that ring from 0 to 100%. There's also a pie, which is essentially the same as the ring, but it's filled in instead of hollow. But I like the bar. Let's stick with the bar. And then the start point is currently 0% and the end point is 100%, but you could change that so that it starts somewhere other than 0 and ends somewhere other than 100 if you wanted. You can add a border to this thing. There's a black border. I can make it red. I can make it yellow. Why not? The background, let me move my playhead back a bit. If you see this gray portion in the unplayed portion, let me make this bigger for you. That would be the background. So right now it's a gray that is about 50% opaque, which is a pretty normal loading bar thing, but you could make it white, you can make it red, you can make it black, any color you want. Let me do that. I can add a shadow to it as always. So pretty much all the same type of stuff there. And let's just like rotate this now. You can make it vertical by doing this. I'm gonna make it just fill the, let's do like a little side loading bar. That looks interesting.
Guy, hey, I'm currently visiting a beautiful waterfall. Yeah, I can hear the water flowing in the background. It's so peaceful here.
Looks kind of like a charging battery or something now. So that's it. Those are all the shapes. And I haven't gotten a single question yet. So feel free to drop a question in the chat. Let's see here. I can change the opacity of the whole thing. I can make it like, so it's like not so obvious, kind of blends in there on the side.
Hey, I'm currently visiting a beautiful waterfall. Yeah, I can hear the water flowing in the background. It's so peaceful here.
And I can lock these layers as before. Locking layers isn't something that I use a lot in my normal workflow. but it can be handy, especially with shapes, especially if you're adding a lot of shapes. Like, let me just make a cool design here. Let me just put some circles. I'm gonna make it like red, and then let's do like a square, make it green, and then add a arrow, make it wider. So if I had a bunch of shapes in here and I end up clicking on stuff accidentally, what I can do is click on a layer, or rather click off a layer, don't select anything, and then you can see these on the side. These are all the layers that I have, and I can lock them so that they're kind of like blended in with the background. Now I cannot select it, and if I want to manipulate it, I need to unlock it to be able to move it around again. So locking is handy for that. If you have like a bunch of stuff going on and you want to kind of just get things out of your way, then you can lock it and you don't have to worry about accidentally grabbing it and moving it around or accidentally changing a property that you didn't mean to change. So that's layers. Let's go into captions, since I still got a lot of time and haven't gotten any questions yet. If I had captions read the transcript. Your transcript, of course, is this one here on the left side. And similar to shapes, once you got the general comfortable with shapes, then you can change any layer. You got the same layout properties, X and Y, height and width, and the rotation properties. So all of that is exactly the same across layers, except for a sound layer. A sound layer obviously will not have a physical layout. You can change the opacity. So I'm gonna go to 100%. Now it's fully visible. I can hide it with this little eyeball. Now it's gone. One really cool thing about captions, and I'll get into this tomorrow in tomorrow's live stream, is right now it's set to captions. Freeform is where you could just click in here and type anything you want. Speaker is where it's going to just read off of the assigned speaker, in this case Dawn. And this can be really handy when the speaker is changing a lot and you've got it labeled, then it'll automatically change who the speaker is. Composition name is going to be this one here, Shapes Practice, if I wanted that to be across the top. If I was making a course and this was called the lesson on shapes, then I could have that visible throughout the entire video by doing that. Marker, I don't have any markers, so they're not going to show up. Timer is going to be exactly where this playhead currently is. So if I play it,
Let the waterfall. No, there's no network issue here.
You can see it changes as the playhead moves through the project. So a lot you can do with that. I'm going to move it to captions. And then to the right of that is where you could assign it to a different speaker. So I could set this as the captions for just the speaker named Dawn. He could have this purple look, and then somebody else could have a different color of captions, and you could do that automatically here. I'll show that tomorrow as well. And then I'm gonna move this around. Let's put this in the corner like that. And let's give it a background. Go to custom. Right now it has a black background. I can give it a white background. I can make it slightly opaque. That type of thing. It's got a shadow on it currently. That just helps it pop. Let me give this a more interesting background like this. And I'm gonna send that to the back. Click on the layer. I can hit the bracket, or I can hit these three dots, layer order, send to back, and now it's in the back. I'm gonna make that opaque as well. So let's do like 50%. Let's do 25%. Now it's barely visible.
Let the waterfall. No, there's no network issue here.
enough to see what's going on. If I click into the gray area, notice how it's very dark because it still has a black background. Black is the default. If I go to background here and I hit this plus button, it defaults to white, but I could also make it like anything I want. Let's do like a dark green. Yeah, that's too much. Blue. I want something subtle. Like, let's do white. And that's fine. Okay, so we've got all that.
Hello? Yeah, I'm at the waterfall. No, there's no network issue here.
So this was the way that the AI wrote this script. It's a conversation. So let me chop this up a bit. Hold on, let me take this call. Hello. Okay. Let me cut to like another guy speaking. I'm just messing around here, just doing guy talking on phone. I'm back in the media bin. I'm looking at stock photo. This is gonna be the guy that our character is talking to. And what I'm gonna do is notice there's a slash right here before the word yeah and a slash at the end. So I've created a scene. It's scene number 4. I can tell that by this down here, scene number 4. And right before the word yeah, if I want to assign a different speaker, so give this a different AI voice than the Dawn voice that I have previously, I can put in a @ sign. So shift 2 on my keyboard, and this speaker thing, the speaker assignment popped up, and let's make this me. This is gonna be me answering him. So I just put in my own name there, and you can see it started a new line. And let me just separate this out. And it labeled not only that scene, but the one after it. So let me label this as Dawn again. I'm gonna do the @ sign. I'm gonna click Dawn, and there we go. So now it's gonna be a different speaker. And what I wanna do is, where is my caption layer? So right now the captions are assigned to Dawn. So what I need to do is bring in a new caption, and I'm gonna put it in scene 4, where our new speaker is. Or I could have it span the whole project, but what I'm gonna do here is hit these 3 dots, speaker, Ross, and I need to make it visible. There we go. And then I'm gonna change the properties of this layer. So let's move it down. Let's do style. Let's do karaoke. And let's just stick with that. So watch what happens now.
Take this call. Hello? Yeah, I'm at the waterfall. No.
Oh, and it didn't update my speaker. That's okay. It did change the captions though, and that's what we're looking for. And notice this layer, this is my captions layer, it spans into the previous one and the next one, but you don't see it there because it goes back to Dawn. It's no longer Ross as the assigned speaker, it's Dawn. I'm gonna go into that more tomorrow, into multi-speaker sequences, doing captions, all that kind of stuff. Super important skill. And I went into it yesterday as well in the live stream, so you can go back and watch that if that would be useful for you. What else? So that's captions, that's shapes. I feel like this is a really good foundational lesson, because if you can feel comfortable with the layouts property and moving things around the screen like you would in a PowerPoint or on Canva, then that gets you a long ways in Descript and understanding how to position things and design things. Because then, yeah, so then let's move on to videos and stuff, which you've already seen me do throughout this live stream. If I add something like a GIF, like guy talking on phone, let's add Peter Griffin here. This is just an image. So this shouldn't be intimidating. After having learned and followed everything we've done so far, I can just move this around my screen using the layouts. I could round the corners like so. Let's make it more dramatic. Let's do like 150. There you go. You can see the corners around. So yeah, I can click on it. Once I got the dots, the white dots, then I can slide him around the screen. And that's too far. Sorry, it's a little laggy here. I think I'm taxing my computer with all the software I have running. I'm gonna give it a moment to catch up. I guess this is a good moment to do a call to action. Pitch my website. In case you're wondering who I am, I have a business called Descript Mastery, and this is all I do. I teach people Descript. This is my website, descriptmastery.com. I do a lot of one-on-one coaching. People hire me to help them. Typically, they find me when they first start using the software, and I help just get them set up with what they need to know as they are launching a YouTube channel, launching a podcast, transitioning from another editing software. Those are all common use cases. The other one is my course. My course is the main thing that a lot of people are enrolled in. Currently $144. That gets you lifetime access and all updates to the course, which I update it often, all the time, because Descript is always updating, and I'm about to do a major overhaul of it again. And so yeah, tutoring course. I got templates for $25 a pop. I can make a template. Could be a YouTube intro or outro. Could be anything you want. I also have free ones that you can download. Just click on these and then you can add my templates to your projects. I have blog articles. I have this YouTube channel and a lot more. A lot of free stuff and a few paid offers as well. Okay, let's get back to here and let's see if we can move this around. There we go. And I got a notification from YouTube. What is this? Okay, that's fine. What else? I got 5 minutes left. Let's add something else to this. If I had an image, actually, let's play around with text to image. That's a really cool feature. This is Dall-E, which is an OpenAI product. It uses artificial intelligence to generate an image. So a tip I just learned is to use the word hand-drawn, and you can get some really cool stuff. Because I always have whenever I say like photorealistic or high res, I'm not usually impressed with the results, but hand-drawn, you can get some cool stuff. Hand-drawn, fluffy, husky. I have a husky, so I wanted to see if this will work. And this will just generate an image that you can add to your project. And in this case, you can use you let your imagination go crazy. You don't have to be limited to the Unsplash images that are built in. Cool, yeah, that looks good. So that's why using the hand-drawn, let's see what happens if I do photorealistic. Photorealistic. And you get this as part of your subscription to Descript. If you're going through ChatGPT subscription, it's $20 a month, but you can do, I think, as many prompts as you want. Not only in here, but in the Ask AI feature as well. Photorealistic, let's try high res. It just takes a moment to load. This one's being a lot slower. There we go. Pretty good. This has gotten a lot better. This tool was unusable a few months ago, so it's good to see that it's made a lot of progress. And I'd imagine in the coming months, there will probably be, here under the video tab, there will probably be one that says text to video with Sora coming online. I'm expecting a beta version of that this year by the end of 2024. We'll see if I'm right. But that'll be a game changer, because then you won't need this stuff at all. You just generate something on the fly every single time, which will be really, really fun and really exciting to see what that does to people's creative capabilities. And audio as well. There's a tool I've been using where you give a prompt to make a song, and it does it. It does great. So, yeah, this might all soon be, well, and your whole project might be prompt based. Just say, hey, edit this up based on X YouTuber style, or you could train it on a specific style of editing, and then the AI will just do that for you. But in the meantime, this is how to do it all manually. And I hope you enjoyed this. I'm here every day. I'm doing an experiment this week. I'm doing a live stream every day at the same time, 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 12:30 p.m. Pacific. And yeah, feel free to tune back in, ask your questions, and we can take these in any direction you want. Thanks for watching. Ciao.